All right, so what are some of the tax benefits that you can take advantage of when you're launching a home-based food business from your home, and how can they benefit your income if you're starting and you have a minimal amount of money to invest in that food business, but you're launching it from home? So this is going to be the first of 5 videos. I'm actually going to give you 10 specific detailed explanations of different various tax benefits to starting this type of business from your home. And there are a lot of them, and they are enormous, and they can benefit you financially in major ways. Now, really quick disclaimer, I'm not an accountant, but I have been in the food industry for about 14 years now, 15 years on my own, running my own business, and I work with an accountant every single year. So this is a lot of what I've learned along the way, passing that on to you. So if you want to take some notes or watch this video back to back, the series is going to be 1 all the way through 5. I broke it down into 10 specific taxes under different categories, and I'm going to dive into those right now. All right, guys, so welcome back to Marketing Food Online. It is, of course, Damian, Roberta. You definitely want to hit the subscribe button. Now, this podcast, we're going to go ahead and upload that also onto YouTube. You definitely could follow us. We are on 11 platforms. You can hear us on the go as well. Those links will be down in the description. Now, let's just dive right into it. Now, if you're starting from home, you're going to get a home office deduction. Now, if you use part of your home exclusively for your food business, you can deduct a portion of your housing expenses. Now, this includes rent, mortgage interest. This could be property taxes, utilities, and insurance. Now, the deduction is based on the percentage of your home square footage that's being used for the business. Now, keep that in mind. This makes it easier to reduce the taxable income by incorporating regular household expenses into your business finances, as long as you meet the IRS specific requirements for that, what constitutes an actual home office, which of course it does, as long as it's a space that you're using. Now, startup cost deduction. Starting a food business involves, of course, various expenses. You have market research. You have suppliers research, you have advertising, legal fees. The IRS will actually allow you new businesses to deduct up to $5,000 of the startup cost the first year of the operation. Now, costs exceeding $5,000 can be amortized over 15 years, providing a sustained tax benefit. Now, this deduction actually helps lower the financial barrier to entry for new entrepreneurs by allowing immediate recovery of part of that initial investment. All right, next up, supplies and ingredients deduction. Now, the cost of the food supplies, of course, and your ingredients that are necessary to prepare your dishes or food products can be fully deducted as business expenses. Now, this deduction is crucial for food entrepreneurs because where the cost of goods sold is a significant part of what the operation is, that'll help. Keeping detailed records of these expenses is essential, of course, for maximizing any of your deductions and accurately reflecting that cost of running your business. Next up, equipment deduction. You will have equipment, of course, guys. Kitchen equipment like ovens, refrigerators, mixers, they represent a pretty big substantial investment. So the IRS actually allows you to spread the cost of this equipment over its expected lifespan through depreciation deductions. Now, this means that you can deduct a portion of these equipment's cost each year, helping to offset the initial outlay and reduce the taxable income over time. Now, it's also a valuable benefit. Acknowledge the long-term investment of equipment necessary for the type of business you're running. Now, utility cost deductions. Now, utilities are a significant monthly expense for food businesses, especially those that are operating from home. Now, remember, a portion of your electricity, gas, water bills can be deducted as part of your home office expenses. Now, like the home office deduction, the portion can be deducted is proportional to the size of your home use for the business. Now, this deduction also helps to lower your operational costs associated with preparing your food and running that home-based food business. Guess what? Your internet and your phone expenses are a big one too. Now, in today's, of course, digital age, the internet and the phone services are essential no matter if you're running a home-based food business or a commercial one. Now, managing orders, marketing, communicating with customers and suppliers. So the IRS actually allows you to deduct these expenses when they are directly related to the business. Now, if you use these services for both personal and business, you can only deduct the business portion of the bills, requiring some method of appropriation of the use. Okay? Now, keep in mind too, insurance deductions. This is another big one. So insurance premiums for liability and property insurance that cover your business operations are fully deductible. Now, this can include a rider on your homeowner's insurance policy for your business, property, or even the separate business policy itself. Deducting these premiums helps to mitigate the cost of protecting your business from any risks, making comprehensive insurance coverage more accessible for small business owners. Now, you may even get to the point of your home-based business where you have health insurance premiums. Believe it or not, self-employed individuals can deduct 100% of their health insurance premiums. Now, this is including premiums for spouse and dependents for their taxable income. This deduction is available even if you don't itemize deductions, offering significant savings on the cost of your health insurance. It's crucial, though. The benefit that supports the health and well-being of entrepreneurs and their families is something that should also be brought up. Marketing and advertising costs. Now, obviously, you're going to have marketing expenses. These are incurred when promoting your business, including both online, traditional advertising, maybe flyers, local newspaper ads. Those are fully deductible as well. Now, this deduction actually encourages businesses to invest in growth through their marketing, understanding that the visibility of the customer acquisition are pivotal for success in the food industry, even when you have a home-based food business. So professional services, now these are fees paid to accountants, lawyers, even consultants like me. If you ever consult with me, you can write that off as an expense. Who assist you in your business operations can be deducted. Whether it's for setting up your business structure, navigating legal requirements, or managing your finances, these services are recognized as essential for running your home-based food business. Now, deducting these fees helps to manage the cost of obtaining professional advice and support. All right, so just to understand, these tax benefits lay a good, solid foundation for minimizing the cost of starting and running your home-based food business, ultimately enhancing its profitability and sustainability. Even if it's under cottage food laws and you're just starting from scratch, you don't have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the tax benefits. You can start from nothing and reap some really big benefits for your taxation, even if you just launched. So this is video 1. Definitely take a look. The second one will be out shortly. I'll have that one up with 10 more tax benefits under this different categories. I've got 5 categories of tax benefits, and this is number 1. If you have any more questions, let us know down below. If you have actually taken advantage of some of these, let us know in the comment section. There's a lot of subscribers here on Marketing Food Online who are just starting their home-based food businesses, and knowing what you've actually benefited from would be a big help for them as well. I'll see you guys on our next video. Home-based food business ideas. So in this video from Marketing Food Online, I'm going to give you the 5 most important steps to initiate this type of a business when you start it from home, of course, under the cottage food laws. But there are many positives and less negatives when starting a food business from home. So I'm going to give you 5 steps. Watch it all the way from beginning to end. I'm going to go from step 5 down to number 1, the most important. So step 5, you want to organize your business operations, okay? So your step 5 is definitely something that you want to be aware of when starting a home-based food business, is basically to ensure that your business operations are as meticulous as your recipes. Now, this includes everything from ingredient sourcing, inventory management, to order fulfillment and customer service. Developing a system that works for you can mean the difference between a smooth operation and one that's kind of chaotic. Now, additionally, you want to keep a keen eye on your financial health of your business. Now, you want to implement bookkeeping for sure. You got to keep track of everything that you're selling and everything that you're spending. Bookkeeping practices from the start will actually help you manage cash flow, price your products correctly, and ultimately turn your passion into a profitable business. Step 4. Develop a marketing and branding strategy. You don't underestimate the power of a strong brand and a strategic marketing plan. Your branding, which includes your business name, a logo for the business, and the overall aesthetic of your products and how it looks, should be authentic representation of your food and your story behind why you started. Now, when it comes to marketing, you want to leverage, of course, all social media platforms to showcase your delectable creations and, of course, connect with the community within your area. Remember, your online presence is often the first most powerful impression that potential customers will have for your business. Step 3, design an efficient and scalable kitchen space. Now, of course, with the legalities out of the way, let's talk a little bit about logistics. So your home kitchen needs to be a well-oiled machine to optimize your space more efficiently. Now, this can mean investing in some similar to commercial-grade equipment. Of course, cottage food laws dictate that you can't have commercial equipment, but there are quite a few pieces of equipment out there that are for your home that do very much the same. So simply you want to organize your workspace smarter. Scalability is also crucial to keep that in mind. You want to ensure that as your business grows, your kitchen can keep up with the space. You want to consider the flow of your operations from ingredient prep to packaging and create a space that minimizes any backups. Step number 2, of course, comply with legalities and food safety regulations. Now, this step is something that will help you navigate the legal requirements. Now, your home kitchen will need to meet specific food safety standards, and you may be subject to some cases inspections from the state. Now, it's paramount to actually become very familiar with your specific state cottage food laws, which of course they vary by state to state, and to obtain any necessary permits or licenses if they do have those. Keep in mind though, a lot of states do not have any inspections or permits. Compliance with these regulations, of course, is a non-negotiable, so you don't want to play around with this because you don't want to get into trouble. It safeguards both you and your customers and ensures that your business is built on a foundation of trust that your customers can have. All right, finally, step number 1. We start from the top and go to the bottom. This is, though, the most important. You want to refine your business food idea. Before you begin whipping up your products, take a step back and fully take a look at your baking concept or your food concept. What is your unique selling proposition? Are you aiming to tantalize taste buds with your brand or secret cookie recipe, or potentially just planning on really catering to health-conscious crowd with nutrient-packed bowls of delicious foods? Now, understanding your niche will not only help you stand out in the market, but it will also guide you in creating a business plan that resonates your audience. Just keep in mind that before starting that home-based food business, it can definitely be a dream come true for many. It offers a lot of flexibility for working from home, the joy of sharing culinary creations with the world, and a potentially financial reward of profitability. But where do you begin? Okay, so the journey from the concept to the kitchen to your customer involves several steps. So these 5 steps on how to start a home-based food business will give you a great foundation for you to get built on. So if you have any questions about starting your own food business, let us know down in the comments below. And check out all of our other resources in the description section, our websites, podcasts, and so much more. I'll see you on our next video. So creating a brand identity for your home-based food business. Here are some tips and examples to help you launch and grow that home-based food business from scratch. Now, when starting a home-based food business, creating a brand identity is crucial to a part of building that successful enterprise. Your brand identity is actually what sets you apart from competitors and communicates to the customer exactly what your business is about. Now, in this video, we're going to discuss some tips for creating a brand identity for your home-based food business, as well as provide some examples to help inspire you. All right, so number 6, determine your unique selling proposition. Now, before you can create a brand identity, you actually need to know what makes your home-based food business unique. This is known as your unique selling proposition, or the USP. Now, your USP is what makes you stand out in a crowded market and is what will attract customers to your business. It could be used for locally sourced ingredients, your commitment to sustainability, or your unique flavor combinations. But once you determine your USP, you can then use that to guide your branding efforts. Now, here's an example. So you have a home-based bakery that specializes specifically in gluten-free or vegan desserts. So number 5, defining the target audience. Now, your target audience is the group of people that you actually want to reach with your brand. It's very important to understand who they are so that you can actually create branding that will resonate with them. You can define your target audience by looking at several different factors: age, gender, interests, lifestyle, or even income. Now an example of this would be like home-based catering business that actually caters to busy families with young children. Now, number 4, choosing your brand elements. Now, your brand elements are the visual and verbal cues that represent your brand. Now, these can include logo, color scheme, taglines, brand voice, or even typography. Now, you need to choose these elements to reflect your USP, and it will appeal to your target audience. Now, here's an example: a home-based jam and preserve business with a logo that features a colorful hand-drawn illustration of fruits and a tagline that emphasizes the use of natural ingredients. Number 3, create consistency across all touch points. Now, consistency is crucial and it's key when it comes to building a brand identity. Your branding should be consistent across all touch points, from your website, your social media channels, to your packaging, and even if you have business cards. Consistency helps to build recognition and trust with your customers. Now, here's an example. Now, a home-based hot sauce business with consistent branding across all touch points, including a website with bold, colorful branding and packaging that features the same color scheme and logo for that hot sauce. Number 2, build an emotional connection. Now, a strong brand identity goes beyond just visual elements, as it actually should include building an emotional connection with your customers. Now, your branding should communicate your values and, of course, your own personality, and should make your customers feel good about supporting your local business. Now, an example of that. Now, let's go into this. A home-based bakery that uses like nostalgic branding elements, such as a vintage-inspired logo, maybe retro packaging, to appeal to customers' emotions and then actually create a sense of warmth and comfort with your baked goods. Now, number 1, the most important and crucial is to be authentic. Finally, it's important to be authentic when creating a brand identity. Your branding should be a reflection of actually who you are and what your business stands for. So you want to try to do something that's not really related to other customers that will quickly see through it and they can trust your brand because it's unique and honest. Example. Okay, so you have a home-based coffee roasting business that uses branding that reflects the owner's love for travel or maybe adventure. The imagery of far-off destinations and like a bold or adventurous color palette, those would help distinct between those unique products. Now, in conclusion, creating a brand identity is an essential part of building a successful home-based food business. So by determining your USP, defining your target market, choosing brand elements and creating consistency, building an emotional connection and being authentic, you can create a brand that will help you stand out in the market and build a loyal customer base. All right, so in conclusion, creating a brand identity is an essential part of building a successful home-based food business. You got to determine your USP, define that target audience, choose your brand elements, create consistency, and build an emotional connection, and be authentic while you do it. You can create a brand identity that will help you stand out in the market and build a loyal customer base. Use the examples above to give you a little bit of inspiration, but remember, create a brand that's unique to your business and reflects your own personality and values. Now, if you have any questions about creating a home-based brand, let us know down below in the comment section. And of course, definitely give us a big thumbs up if you've got any other questions about starting your own home-based. All right, so what are some tax deductions for home-based businesses that are food-related? So if you're looking to start a cottage food business from your home, you definitely want to be aware of what you can and cannot deduct as far as taxes. Now, really quick disclaimer, I am not an accountant, but I have been in the food business for quite some time. And our food business started at our home many years ago. But I definitely can tell you that some of these are things you need to write down. If you don't want to write it down, just go to our blog. You can actually print up a list we have on our blog. There's a link down below this video. You can check that out. It has a list of everything I'm about to tell you. So you can take that to your accountant, but be sure that if you're operating a business from home, and it's a home-based food business, these tax deductions you want to take advantage of if you can, and definitely be aware of all of them. So I'm going to give you 25 different tax deductions, and you might be surprised that some of these you may have never guessed, but some of them you may have already known about if you've already operated a food business from home. So I'm going to dive into this from beginning to the end. Number one, home office expense. Now, mortgage interest or rent. If a portion of your home is used exclusively for your food business, you can often deduct a portion of your mortgage interest or the rent, believe it or not, which is very interesting and definitely can save you a ton of money because that's in the thousands. Utilities, your prorated electricity, gas, and water expenses for the business for part of your home can also be used as a tax deduction. Now, you're operating an internet and phone, a portion of your internet and phone bills can also be deducted because many times you're operating a website or you're answering emails, you're using your internet for business purposes. Supplies and equipment. Now, anything that you're talking about here, this is interesting because things like cooking supplies, if you talk about ingredients, cooking utensils even, etc. If you go out and you buy a whole bunch of these items and you need them for your home-based food business to make your food product, those are business expenses, people. You got to definitely be aware of it. Packaging materials, so boxes, bags, and other packaging supplies dedicated solely to the purpose of your food products that maybe you sell at farmers markets or local restaurants, or if you sell at retailers, those are expenses as well. Small appliances, now, things like mixers, scales, if you're weighing stuff, blenders, any type of small appliance that you're purchasing for your home-based food business, keep the receipts, by the way, for everything. Those are also tax deductible. Large appliances depreciation. So if you purchase industrial ovens or refrigerators, you may be able to actually deduct its value over time. Now, of course, under cottage food laws, many states don't allow you to use commercial equipment. But if you're using larger equipment that's not exactly commercial equipment, but it's not the standard mixer on your counter, but it's $500, $600, $800, $900, that's something that you can deduct. So be aware of that too. Most cottage food laws within every state will not exactly allow you to bring on commercial equipment like commercial blenders or ovens that have hoods or ventilation systems. So keep that in mind too. Next up, transportation and travel. So if you're going to a farmer's market, that is travel. If you're going outside of the state to meet with a vendor and you're talking business, that's travel too. So vehicle expenses such as mileage, fuel, maintenance, etc. for business-related trips are things you need to keep receipts of and give them to your accountant. Those are also tax deductible for your home-based food business. Now, travel expenses such as lodging and even meals for business travel. So you're going to another state, let's say, and you're looking for a co-packer for your spices or something. You're meeting with another company for a vending vendor. All of that's related to business travel. You want to keep your receipts for that. Parking and tolls. Yes, believe it or not, if you park somewhere, business-related trips that are related to parking your vehicle in a parking garage, and maybe you're taking an airplane, you're flying somewhere and you're coming back, all of those expenses for the parking, tolls, anything of that sort, going through different tolls through different states, all of those need receipts, and you need to make sure you keep track of that. because that too is also an expense that can be used for your home-based food business. Now, of course, next up is marketing and advertising. If you don't realize this, yes, believe it or not, if you are advertising online, you're doing Facebook ads, even if they're local Facebook ads, that's all considered marketing and advertising. Keep your receipts from those transactions and be sure that you turn them into your accountant. Website costs, for instance, hosting, domain names, design of your website, the maintenance of your website, all of these things come into play when you have a home-based food business, and they're business related, so those are also tax deductible as well. Social media advertising, again, like I mentioned before, ads on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, even on LinkedIn, if you're running ads anywhere on those websites to sell your food product or bring awareness of your business, those are also expenses. Now, traditional advertising. So let's say you're doing some local stuff, maybe at a college or university, or maybe at a farmer's market, you're handing out flyers, local newspaper ads even, or posters, if you're not using the internet or the website or that sort. All of those ads that you're doing in print and local distribution, those can also be tax deductible. So you want to make sure, again, only thing you want to think about when I'm telling you the list of what I'm talking about is what's so important is keeping track. Excuse me. You want to keep track. Make sure that you keep track. Receipts, receipts, receipts. No matter what it is, even if it's a handwritten receipt from a vendor, keep it. If it's a receipt from a store, keep it. Okay? So keep in mind all of this you should back up, of course, with the IRS if they ever ask you about it. So professional services. This is another one that comes to mind really quick. Some things like accounting fees, costs related to accounting or even bookkeeping. So let's say you run your home-based food business, but you're actually giving all the receipts and stuff to an accountant, but they're charging you $30, $40, $50 a month to maintain the bookkeeping. That is also an expense, by the way, guys. So you need to make sure you keep that in mind. Legal fees. So if you have to consult with a lawyer for contracts or other business-related matters, keep that information as well, because if you pay a lawyer or someone to consult with in regards to contracts, those are also expenses. Also, consulting fees. So if you hire an expert like me, for instance, we have consulting, and if you want to talk to me, you keep your receipt from the order that you buy from me and make sure that you turn that in as well. If that's something like consulting that improves the business or improves the output of your business, or you can grow via a consultant or consulting with someone else, that's definitely something else that can be tax deducted as well. Keep in mind, guys, all of these items are things that you can definitely write off. Like I said before, many of these things you may be aware of, but a few more, I'm going to hand out a few more here really quick. These are some things that you might not have thought about. So for instance, cottage food laws in some states, licenses and permits are actually required. They could be $50 a year, they could be $100, they could be any amount of money, but you've got to keep the receipts for those too, because those are also permits and licenses that you need. A business license, for instance, fees for local or state business licenses, all of that too rolls into one. You can definitely write that off as well. Now, in some situations, you need a food handler's permit. Now, those costs for obtaining or renewing food handler permits annually or even every 2 or 3 years, those are also expenses that help you operate your business. Keep your receipts for that. Now, if you potentially need to have it, health inspection fees. So if there are costs associated with health inspections from your local city or county health department, if that comes into play with your home-based food business, keep that information too as well. Sometimes they do charge you a fee to have that inspection, and sometimes it's $50 up to $150 every year or as needed. So you want to make sure that you get receipts from the local health inspector if they're going to have to come in and inspect. That would be insurance. Now, most cottage food states actually do not require insurance, but if you're running a business, I highly recommend liability insurance, business-related insurance premiums that you pay every single month. And if you're having an insurance policy for your food business at home, definitely also write that off. Health insurance. So if self-employed, you might be able to deduct the cost of health insurance premiums. If your business has grown to where you've got actual employees or even you've got other family members that you're paying them, and you want to make sure that you're covering their health insurance, your small business from home can also write that off as well. Okay, next up, employee expenses. So eventually, as cottage food transitions into a full-time business, wages and salary might come into play. So payments to employees, if you have any, you want to let your accountant know about that. That's also something that could be tax deduction as well, or at least benefit your business tax-wise. Employee benefits, health insurance, retirement contributions for employees. So if you open up a small little 401k account, or if you've got some retirement account, you're paying people who are working for you at your home-based food business, that too is something you need to let them know. Now, here's just kind of a couple things off the top of my head, miscellaneous things that you might want to think about. So business meals, you get 50% of the cost of the meals during business meetings or travel as per the IRS guidelines. So if you spend $100 on a meal, about 50 bucks of that could be actually used. Education and training courses, so costs, business-related courses or workshops or even seminars that you send people to. If you have a bakery, for instance, that's also something. Remember that documentation is crucial for all of these deductions, so keep detailed records of receipts for all of your expenses and turn them into your accountant. So if you have any questions about tax deductions for your home-based food business, as we just discussed in this podcast, I'll upload onto YouTube. Let us know down below the video. If you hear us on our podcast, drop us a line on our podcast as well. And I'll see you guys on our next video. All right, so 10 pros and cons of home-based food businesses. In this podcast, which we'll upload onto our YouTube channel as well, you definitely want to watch this from beginning to end because I'm going to give you some real-life pros and cons of having your own food business from home. We're going to dive into those 10 right now. All right, so a new wave of entrepreneurship has swept over us in recent years. The trend is undeniable. Home-based food businesses are growing rapidly and in popularity. But before you set out on this gastronomic journey, if you will, it's important to weigh the pros and cons. And in this video, we're actually going to delve into the world of selling food from home and dissecting advantages and disadvantages to help you make an informed decision on whether or not to start one. So before we start, definitely hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Watch from number 10 down to number 1. We're going to dive right into it. Okay, let's start with number 10, the pro, low initial investment. So one of the most appealing actual advantages of home-based food businesses is the relatively low initial investment. You already have the space to work, the comfort of your own kitchen. Now, all you need to purchase are raw materials and perhaps some, of course, additional cooking utensils. All right, so the cons, actually, you have limited scalability. Now, however, one significant disadvantage here is that your business's scale may be limited. Now, there's only so much food that you can actually cook in your home kitchen, of course, and expanding may eventually require investing in a larger, potentially even more professional kitchen or even hiring staff, which could increase costs significantly. Number 9, the pro, flexibility. Now, when you're selling food from home, the one thing you want to keep in mind is your work schedule can be as flexible as you want it to be. Now, you can decide when to cook and deliver your food products, and this flexibility is a major advantage for those who need to balance other commitments, of course, like parenting or even having another job. So this is one thing that's really a plus. Now, the con, the downside, blurring a work and home life when you've got a home-based food business. So now on the flip side, of course, now the boundary between work and home life can be a little blurred at sometimes. A home-based food business has risks of its own, okay? So there's a risk of work creeping into your relaxation or family time, which could lead to a stress or even a burnt out situation. Number 8, pro, passion and creativity. Now, this is actually kind of the fun aspect of it. If cooking is your passion, then what better way to earn a living? You actually get to express your creativity. You can experiment with recipes. You can take pride in the smiles of your satisfied customers when you sell your food products. The advantages of doing what you love can't be, of course, overstated. Now, the con to this is a risk of monotony. So, yet a word of caution, turning a hobby into a business can lead sometimes into monotony. Suddenly, you're relaxing. Your cooking sessions become a constant pressure to deliver your food product. It's a disadvantage that can dampen your passion for your food cooking over time and lead to kind of another burnout situation. Now, number 7, pro, growing market. Now, there is a growing demand for homemade, healthy, and even unique food options, believe it or not, all over the U.S. People appreciate the personal touch and the authenticity of their experience that can come from selling food from home. Now, this trend is a significant advantage for home-based food entrepreneurs because, again, you have everything you need to pretty much get started doing it. Now, one of the downsides, the cons, now competition and market saturation. Now, this may be a couple of terms you might be very familiar with, but however, the increasing popularity of home-based food businesses also means that there's an increased competition, believe it or not. So you need to constantly kind of innovate and keep your menu exciting in order for you to stand out, which can, of course, be challenging and even time-consuming if it's something that you love to do, but you're always having to come up with a creative side to it. Number 6, the pro, is a lower operating cost. Now, operating costs are generally lower for home-based food entrepreneurs and home-based food businesses compared to like a traditional restaurant or even a cafe. Now, there's no need to pay rent and utility bills or even a maintenance cost as well for a separate business space because you already have that at your home. Now, cons, the downside of it, the regulatory hurdles. Yes, that's right. That said, selling food from home isn't without its regulatory hurdles. Now, you'll need to comply, of course, with food safety and hygiene regulations, which most cottage foods do establish, which might require some changes to your kitchen setup, maybe even your cooking processes. And these changes can be costly and, of course, require a substantial amount of time and energy in order for you to get set up in the initial stages. Number 5, so the pro, so a shorter supply chain. Now, this is really cool. With a home-based food business, you actually have a direct link to your customers, which actually enabling a more personalized service if you haven't thought of it that way. You can adjust your recipes based on feedback and maintain a closer relationship with your clientele compared to a lot of other types of food businesses. Now, the downside, the con to that, dependence on the local market. So, yet being a local business also has its disadvantages in some ways too. Your success is heavily dependent upon the local market. Now, if the demand for homemade food isn't that strong in your area, it could limit your business's potential to even get started, let alone scale. All right, so number 4, pro. Now, what are the environmental sustainability? So operating a home-based food business can be more environmentally friendly as well. You're likely to have less food waste and a smaller carbon footprint due to the lower energy use and a lack of daily commute as well. So doing it from home, you're already tapping into your existing electricity and electrical bill. Now, there's a con to it now as well. Limited branding opportunities. Now, yet one disadvantage is the lack of physical presence now, which can limit your branding opportunities. And here's what I mean. So without a storefront, it can be a bit harder to attract walk-in customers or spread the word about your business, which traditional brick and mortar businesses have. So that's one thing you might want to keep in mind as well. Number 3, another pro is on opportunities for a niche markets. So with a home-based food business, another great thing you can focus on niche markets, such as even vegan foods or vegan baked goods, gluten-free, or even ethnic foods. Serving these specialty foods can differentiate your business and attract a dedicated customer base as well. Now, on the flip side, though, there is a narrow customer base with niche markets, something to think about. But however, while niche markets offer opportunities, they also come with a narrower customer base. This disadvantage means that you're dependent on a smaller group of customers, which of course can make your business more vulnerable to changes, customer preferences, and even dietary trends. So number 2, pro, the autonomy. Now, this is kind of a unique aspect some people don't think about. But when you're selling food from home, you are your own boss. You can make the decisions and directly reap the benefits of your hard work. This autonomy can also be deeply satisfying and extremely motivating because the sky is the limit with what you can do and the potential for earnings. Now, the con is the responsibility and the pressure. Now, this is something that's true with all businesses. But with great power comes great responsibility, as they said in the Spider-Man movies. You have to handle all aspects of the business, from actually cooking to customer service to even accounting. And this pressure can be daunting at times and may not suit everyone's temperament because you're responsible for everything. So number 1 of the best and biggest pro is personal satisfaction. Last but certainly not least, the sense of achievement and personal satisfaction derived from running a home-based food business can be immense. It's actually seeing your creations delight others is a joy, and it transcends mere monetary gain. So if you'd like to make people happy with what you're actually baking or making or cooking, this is definitely the route to go. Now, the only downside to this is uncertain income. So despite all of the advantages I just stated, selling food from home comes with the risk of uncertain income. Like, of course, any business, it may take some time to become profitable. Income fluctuations can cause stress and, of course, require a bunch of balances in your finances. And in conclusion, while the world of home-based food businesses offers exciting possibilities, it, of course, is not without its challenges, just like any other business. So the pros and cons listed here are not, of course, exhaustive. There are a handful of other things that we could get into, but they do provide a good starting point for anyone considering taking the plunge. Always remember that good planning and hard work and a passion for what you do are great ingredients to help any food business get started. And if this was helpful, of course, definitely give us a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, let us know down below. And of course, this podcast was helpful. Do give us a big thumbs up. Check out all of our podcasts. You can listen to us online. We're on 11 platforms. I'll have those listed down in the description as well.